Books teach us, they inspire us, they challenge us, and they expand our horizons. Books contain the best thoughts of the greatest minds in history, but the problem is, there are millions to choose from. So what should you invest your time reading? What should you spend your money on? How do you sort through all the bullshit and find the good shit? You let the superior men do the work. Matt and Jay take the best books, pick the most important points, and distill them down to a concentrated 30-minute podcast. We help you find the books you need to read and why you need to read them. You may even learn something. So take out your coffee, tea, a glass of wine, or a good IPA. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome to the Superior Men Bookcast.
And welcome back to the Superior Men Bookcast. I'm your host, Jay, together here in the studio with my fellow bookcaster, Sir Matthew.
Good day.
What are you popping open there?
A good IPA.
Fantastic. Right. Hopefully where you folks are, men around the world are enjoying yourself, whether that's with wine or beer or iced tea or crack, whatever you like.
Whatever.
Today's bookcast is about one of the best novels I've read in a long time. This is Cormac McCarthy's The Road, published in 2006. Matt, tell us about this book.
All right, so this book, for one, is a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, which that's a thing already. That puts it in a very esteemed category. It's about the journey of a father and his son through a post-apocalyptic world, and following the road, following to get to head south.
And that is that is the briefest outline that we can give you about it.
Yeah. It is unlike any post-apocalyptic book I have ever read and any story that I've ever heard of. It is quite different than that. And really, McCarthy is setting what he's doing is really talking about giving you an unbridled look at humanity, maybe at their best and at their worst.
I would say that's accurate. That's what I experienced also. He takes like all the varnish and polish off of everything.
Right. Yes.
And just grinds it down to its bare essence and then goes, here you go. What would you say that he's attempting to solve or to dig into with this book?
So really we're looking at what is, I don't know, in our bigger thing, what is life? Like, what is existence? What is morality? What is good? What is bad? What is that? And why, when there is no hope, why are we here?
Yeah, what do we push for? I mean, why do we keep going?
Right.
I think that's really the question. I would say the people that are going to benefit most from this book, if you struggle with existential angst, this book is like, if you can make it all the way through, because there's going to be times it's going to get tough for you.
Yeah, it's tough.
But if you can make it all the way through, it will give you some great clues about like why we exist. I think it's if you're a parent, especially if you're a father, man, this book. And I'll be interested. I was going to say, Matt, I'd be curious to hear your perspective on that one a little bit later here, but that's a big one. If you like dark, brutal, unrelenting stories with just an excellent, Pulitzer Prize winning level of care and thought in every single word, it's good from all those perspectives and others.
Right.
Who's not going to like The Road?
So if you need something upbeat, this is going to be rough for you. If you don't enjoy descriptive writing, which, for me, when I say who's going to benefit, it's like the descriptions where this are just like it painted that picture in my mind, which I love books that can do that. And you're really describing stuff without being, well, I'll just like say with George R.R. Martin, he's overly descriptive, and this is a brevity description for me. And really this book, how difficult is this to read? So the reading is easy, and you can read through this piece and not dive into it in your brain pretty easily. But the subject matter and really kind of picking the pieces out is quite difficult. It's in print, it's about 287 pages. Call it a 5 to 8 hour read. The audio book is about 6.5 hours. So tell us a little bit about the reviews here on this, Jay.
So it has a lot of reviews, actually, over 6,000 reviews on Amazon, which puts it in as one of the more popular books. In fact, it is in the contemporary fiction, the entire contemporary fiction category, it's ranked in the top 30, number 29. So there's a lot of people that have read this book. 4.2 stars, but I would say if you go and you look at the reviews, the people that don't give it 5 stars don't talk about the book. They talk about how they felt. And it was just too dark, too sad, too depressing, too awful, too much. And no, I can't recommend it. I'd be curious to know how many of those people even read all the way through to the end.
Right. And I don't know. To me, it is dark. It is, but that's part of that is like, you can't ignore that piece of life in general.
Right. Talk really quickly to the people about the movie. What do you think for movie to book translation there?
So I haven't. So yeah. I honestly, I didn't even know there was a movie until I had gone through this book. So I didn't even know that one existed. However, Viggo Mortensen, Robert Duvall, Charlize Theron, Guy Pearce, you may have heard of some of them. It didn't do all that well. It basically just made slightly over its budget. The cinematography on that on that movie was pretty amazing for me. It, for the most part, matched my mental picture. So I love how they made the bleak world. So I quite enjoyed it. It's difficult to find, however. So I couldn't find it anywhere. Google Play, Amazon Prime, Netflix, any of those, I couldn't find it. So you may just need to get the DVD on your own.
I would say make your life easier and just don't. It's the movie. The movie is going to take you a couple of hours to get through. The book is going to take you about 6 hours to get through, and the experience.
Just do the book.
The book is. You are going to be inside the head of the main character, which you literally can't do in a movie. That's impossible to do. So almost all the experiences that you're going to have and the true value of this at a personal level won't come from watching a movie. You need to experience it. So that's what I'm going to say. How did you find out about this book, Matt?
Honestly, it wasn't on my radar at all until you brought it up to me. So never heard of it, never wasn't aware of it, nothing, which is interesting, I guess. I mean, there's a ton of books like that, which is kind of why we're bringing this up to you guys. So
well, and that's I was gonna say I've heard about it in passing over the years as I've read and kind of connected to literary people, and they're like, oh man, this is a tough one.
Right.
And it's in a lot of top 10 lists for books for men, so I've heard about it kind of that way as well. And I've really been wanted to, getting a chance to dive into it. And this Bookcast was, Matt and I kind of were discussing it. And it was like, this sounds like it'll be a good one. So that's how I found out about it.
So give us a little bit of a bio here, Jay.
Yeah, let's talk really just briefly about Cormac McCarthy. He is a very interesting individual. Born in 1933, so he's currently 87. He is American novelist, playwright, short story writer, and screenwriter. His actual name is Charles McCarthy Jr., and he renamed himself Cormac after the Irish king, Cormac McCarthy.
I love that. I just love when people do that. They just go, you know what? I know you gave me this name, but I'm picking my own. I love it.
I'm taking my own thing here. And that is kind of the way he's done his entire life. He's like, I want to do this. He went to school, hated it. He dropped out of college twice. First, he joined the Air Force, and then spent a couple of years in Alaska, in the Air Force, where he hosted a radio show, which I really want to check that out. That's super interesting. Goes back to college because he got a lot of outside pressure. And then he's like, no, this is not for me. Never graduated from college. After college, he wrote his first novel, The Orchard Keeper, while he was working as an auto mechanic. So he's an auto mechanic. Also, he built his own house, like from scratch, including taking all of the stones, put them all together. First 5 novels, not successful. 5,000 hardcover copies for each one, which basically is, especially at that point, you don't make any money until you actually start getting big numbers and volume.
Right.
So not successful. He did make money from writing grants, including a MacArthur Genius grant that gave him in 1981 $236,000. So that's pretty darn good money.
Yeah.
So he made money from grants, and he actually had a bunch of them that he got, but he didn't get popular until he sold All the Pretty Horses, which you may have heard the name of that one, part of his trilogy that he wrote. 1992, that one sold 190,000 hardcover copies. McCarthy was 59 years old when he wrote that.
Wow.
Or when it was published. So think about that one for a second. If you want to break into writing, only 40 years and you'll just squeeze right on in there.
That's right. Hey, so let's talk about some of the themes of this book.
Yeah. Let's talk themes. There's so much interesting stuff to talk about.
So for me, one of my big ones is definitely the good versus evil. There's many mentions in this book about the good guys and the bad guys during this book, and what I really enjoyed was the really. So there are 3 kinds of people in my view, where we have the good guys, which pretty much was going to be the father character and the son character, which they don't use names in this book too, which is interesting.
Right. He's only called the boy and the man. That's it.
The boy and the man, and then the boy will refer to the man as Papa. So, which is cool, but no names are used. And really, it's so you have them as the good guys, and the man is very distrusting of anybody. Then you have sort of the bad guys, which are, I look at these people who are ones who want to just survive at any cost whatsoever. There is no morality that goes into anything. It's just like, hey, look, there's another person who's there. We can kill them and eat them, and then we can, live another couple days. And
to add a little bit of perspective on that, the setting and the background for this novel, it's not a post-apocalyptic in the more traditional sense where it's like a lot of things have died, or a big chunk of humanity has died. In this novel, basically everything is dying.
And the planet, the trees, whole planet. There's no life anywhere where they go except for the occasional humans that they find. I mean, so the existence is not like, oh, we got to forage for nuts and berries. No, there's nothing. Like, trees are just falling over because they've been dead for 30 years, or whatever. So it's quite a thing. So there's that, and then there's also these people who are just like, there is no point to this. There's no point to living and continuing on. So really have that where, death is a major theme in this, where you're either trying to escape people who are trying to kill you, or just you're trying to figure out a reason to not kill yourself, We said it was bleak.
No, this book is the most depressing book I've ever read, period.
Yeah.
Like,
And,
nothing comes close.
but then throughout that and intermixed are these little stories of like hope and what life is really about, finding little joys in something, but they're in this book it's always fleeting, because they find a really good situation to be in, whatever that is, and they're having a great time, and then they have to leave, and then they got to go for one reason or another. It's not safe, so we got to keep moving. So it's those kinds of situations as well. So there's a lot of that, and really just kind of walking through the mental minefield of there's just nothing there. There's nothing in the world for you.
Yeah, and then what do you do with that?
Right. All right, so let's get to some questions here. So Jay, what did you like best about this book?
I love the range of this book of experience. There's moments of just sheer beauty, and you're just like, like this is. I'm so happy right now. And
right.
then there's a lot of the book where it's like, this is awful. And it's depressing, and it's sad, and it's just feels like it's going to go on forever and ever. I loved the ending. I'm not a big crier, but I was like, my eyes were watering a little bit at the very end of the story. It was excellent.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Give us a quote or two.
All right, so I'm going to give you one quote from the book and then one quote from McCarthy himself, which to me kind of helps understand his perspective and what you're going to get from the book. The first one is, all things of grace and beauty, such that one hold them to one's heart, have a common provenance in pain, their birth in grief and ashes. So, he whispered to the sleeping boy, I have you.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
It's like this idea that the more you love something, the more pain you're gonna have as a result of it, and the more you're gonna experience in connection to that. And and for him, that's his boy.
Yep.
So that's the first one, and then the second, this is a quote from McCarthy himself. There's no such thing as life without bloodshed. The notion that the species can be improved in some way, that everyone could live in harmony, is a really dangerous idea. Those who are afflicted with this notion are the first ones to give up their souls, their freedom. Your desire that it be that way will enslave you and make your life vacuous.
Ooh, that's so. Why aren't we teaching this in school? Because really, that's the thing. Everybody goes, oh, we should just live in harmony with everybody. It's like, I don't know if that's how that actually works. All right, so what did you learn from this book?
I would say that unlike more than any other book I've read, including a shit ton of self-help books and other kind of beneficial books, which I love, this book was about hope in a way that I've never experienced before. This is the most depressing book I've ever read. And as you read it, it's going to pull up all kinds of dark stuff inside you and require that you wrestle with them. But it also says that at the end of the day, if you keep going and believe that something is better, that something better is coming, like that, you can find something better or something good if you keep looking for it. Like, hope is the central if there's any kind of moral in this, it's about the value of hope. And that's an incredible thing, and I think incredibly valuable. Everybody needs to spend time thinking about that.
Yeah, because no matter what the situation is, pretty much you don't get a bleaker situation in life as what's presented in this book.
Right.
Like, it's hard to imagine a more bleak outlook.
Agreed.
So what did you like least?
my perspective is this isn't the kind of book that you criticize. If you don't like the book, it's not the book that you don't like. It's the dark things that it shows you about yourself, about humanity, about existence. So to me, this book is beyond criticism.
Wow. Well, and to a degree, I can see that as well too, because it is gritty, but there are pretty much eternal truths throughout it. So, what would you ask the author?
I would like to know how hard it was for him to write. Like emotionally speaking, did he get depressed? Did he get what was his take throughout the entire book? And I'm not sure. I kind of get the impression, after hearing that quote about him and how he thinks about just kind of the idea that we could live in harmony is a really dangerous idea. Maybe this book was in some ways, with the hope element, more optimistic. Maybe it was really sad for him. I would love to know.
Yeah. No, I you always wonder about the process if you really get wrapped up in it too much, or if you're sort of a little distant from it, maybe as you're writing it, because you have a higher view on it. So yeah, no, it's good. What about any related books or connected books?
I am gonna say that and this will be the first time that I've ever recommended this, but on our show here, but the graphic novel series The Walking Dead, by Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adlard, and Tony Moore. If you've watched that show, it talks about a lot of similar kinds of things, but I think that The Walking Dead does it in a much more succinct and powerful way, and it's like, in my way, kind of in my head, kind of a companion to The Road, in a way, a spiritual companion. So highly recommend it. Matt, let's ask you some questions about the book.
All right.
What did you think about The Road?
So,
what did you like best?
What I really liked about it is I liked the thing of, a juxtaposition between the different kinds of mindsets that the people had in this book, the different kinds of characters, like what I said, good guys, bad guys, and then sort of the don't care, apathetic, like everything is meaningless, people in a complete existential crisis, I guess. So what I really enjoyed is the fact of what is the difference between those three kinds of people. The people who are the good guys, who have maybe some sort of morality about them, whatever that may be, but it's like, no, we're not, for one, we're not cannibals, so I'm not going to, we're not going to eat other people. Or whereas the bad guys are just, I would say, completely amoral. They care as much of eating, somebody as, you would care about eating a carrot or something like that. It doesn't matter. It's a means to keep existing.
That's a huge part of the book, for sure.
Yeah. And then the apathetic people, which are the ones that are just like, it doesn't matter anyway. Why am I even going through this suffering here anyway? Because all it is suffering constantly. So why even do this at all? Like, what is the point of that?
Morality is definitely something that he pushes, kind of like, I don't think he tells you what to do. He just kind of shows you.
Right.
And then as you go, you're like, oh, wow. No, I think that's excellent. Okay. Give me a quote or two.
So I had one, so I listened to this book, and I can't think of a time. I'm sure I've done this before, but I can't think of a time where I've actually stopped the book and gone back and listened to something again. So this quote really hit me. And it's between the man and the boy. And so the man says, just remember that the things you put in your head are there forever. He said, you might want to think about that. And the boy says, you forget some things, don't you? And then the man responds, yes, you forget what you want to remember, and you remember what you want to forget. I love that. I love that exchange between the two of them. And then is another quote that I saw, which I think is what we would call, I guess, like the will to live, which is another theme here in this book. But he says, keep a little fire burning, however small, however hidden. And to me, like, that is what keeps you moving. It's what keeps you persisting through the bad things that there are.
And in this book, little statements, little bits and pieces like that are kind of like hidden throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
And you rarely see them, but when you do see them, it's like, okay, I get it. So no, that's great. What'd you learn from this book?
So and I've read several post-apocalyptic novels, and I love them as a genre. I like them. But pretty much they all have sort of the event happened, and then now the apocalyptic action of it is like, well, now we don't have modern day life anymore. So now we're, have to hunt with spears, or, now we're going into like tribal warfare with other people. But there is definitely an ability to rebuild and move on, where this book does not have that. The world is dying. And actually, I would say the world is dead. So anything that these people are existing on is stuff that existed pre the world dying. Canned food, whatever. I mean, it's so... Or cannibalism. I mean, like,
right.
It's pretty much just you're existing on that. So it's basically like the world is over. Like, there is no hope. There is no hope for survival in another 100 years.
And then what do you do with that?
Right. How do you
wrap your brain around that?
Yeah. How do you do you just give up, or what do you do?
What do you do? I love that perspective, because it's so rare to see that in a book. What'd you like least?
So it's rough to read. Because it's very gritty, very dark, very on the surface, no hope and whatever. So I think it's just very, very dark, and I think that's would be a hard thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, prepare yourself. You should read this book, but prepare yourself. What questions would you ask McCarthy?
So my question would be: do you think that there is morality, or does morality exist in a world with no future? What is the purpose of morality?
I would love to hear that conversation. I would love that. What about connected or related books that you'd recommend?
The Dark Tower series by Stephen King. There's some movies that are not all that wonderful, but the books, I think it's a trilogy. I would recommend those. Actually,
7 books.
Oh, okay, 7.
In the Dark Tower series. I haven't read them all either. Now you got me interested. I'm going to go check those out. I read the first 3. They are all excellent. All right. So the book, once again, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This book is rough. It is none of it is easy to read. Emotionally, spiritually challenging all the way through. It is also a book that you need to read. It is a book every man should read. Boys should read this one as well, because guess what? Life is not easy, but you know what? There is a reason to hold that hope and carry that flame, and this book can help you with that. Mm-hmm. On behalf of Matt, I am Jay. Thank you so much for listening to the Superior Man Bookcast. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend, just one person, and make their life a little bit better. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. We'll see you next time.
A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. Thank you for listening to the Superior Men Bookcast. Share it with a friend. You heard our thoughts. Go read it for yourself.